Please be seated. Welcome, friends and family. We have a wonderful day for Jean and Sue, and Robin and I have looked forward to this day, and if it doesn't rain, we'll be all set. Thanks to everyone who's traveled to be with us and fighting the DC traffic, which is terrible as usual. Rebecca and Chris, the vows that you're about to make are a way of saying to one another, you know all those things we've promised and hoped and dreamed. Well, I meant every word. Look at one another now and remember this moment. Before this moment, you have been many things to one another. Acquaintance, friend, companion, dance party partner, even teacher. You've learned so much from one another in these last 6 years. Now you will say a few words to each other, and from here on in, nothing will be the same. By speaking your vows, you'll say to the world, this is my husband, this is my wife. Rebecca and Chris come before you to join their hands in marriage. If there is anyone here who knows a reason why they should not be wed, please speak now or forever hold your peace.
I do.
Oh, well, almost made it. Rebecca, will you have this man to be your husband? Will you love him, comfort him, honor and keep him in good times and bad, and forsaking all others, be faithful to him forever? Chris, will you have this woman to be your wife? Will you love her, comfort her, honor and keep her in good times and bad, forsaking all others, be faithful to her forever? Friends and family, will all of you witnessing these promises do everything in your power to uphold these two people in their marriage? If so, please answer, we will.
We will.
Rebecca and Chris have asked their mothers, Sue and Robin, to share readings with us now.
This is from an excerpt from The Velveteen Rabbit by Marjorie Williams. What is real? Asked the rabbit one day when he was lying side by side near the nursery fender before Nana came to tidy the room. Does it mean having things that buzz inside you and stick out like a handle? Real isn't how you are made, said the skin horse. It's the things that happen to you. When a child loves you for a long, long time, not just to play with, but really, really loves you, then you become real. Well, does it hurt? Said the rabbit. Sometimes, said the skin horse, for he was always truthful. When you are real, you don't mind being hurt. Does it happen all at once, like being wound up? He asked, or bit by bit? It doesn't happen all at once, said the skin horse. You become. It takes a long time. That's why it doesn't happen often to people who break easily, or have sharp edges, or have to be kept very carefully. Generally, by the time you are real, most of your hair has been loved off, and your eyes drop out, and you get all loose in the joints, and very shabby. But these things don't matter at all, because once you are real, you can't be ugly, except to people who don't understand. The other one is an old Scottish blessing, very short, but since we're in a Celtic moment tonight, may joy and peace surround you both, contentment latch your door, and may happiness be with you now. God bless you evermore.
Becca and Chris, I'm reading from 1 Corinthians. Love is patient and kind. Love is not jealous or boastful. It is not arrogant or rude. Love does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice at wrong, but rejoices in the right. Love bears all, believes all, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never ends. And this is an Irish blessing. May the road rise to meet you. May the wind always be at your back. May the warm rays of sun fall upon your home, and may the hand of a friend be always near. May green be the grass you walk on. May blue be the skies above you. May pure be the joys that surround you, and may true be the hearts that love you. I love you.
Well, excuse me. When Rebecca asked me to officiate the wedding, I watched several wedding shows and checked the internet, but that didn't really help me on what to say. Some were too serious, some too mushy, and some too much like Oprah. But everyone seemed to have an idea what the perfect marriage or the perfect couple should be like. In the movie Annie Hall, Woody Allen and Diane Keaton are walking down the street where they come across what they think is the perfect couple. So they ask him, what's your secret? You know, you seem so happy. And the man says, well, I'm totally boring. I've never had an original thought in my life, and I always follow the crowd. And the woman says, I'm exactly the same. Well, fortunately, Rebecca and Chris are totally the opposite of this couple. They are not boring. As anyone who has met Chris, you feel right at home the first time you meet him. You're never a stranger. When we first met Chris, he had just taken up boxing. But it wasn't boxing to exercise. This was real Ali Frazier boxing with matches, and he retired undefeated. Then after that, his friend Matt taught him how to play the guitar, and he's pretty good. So his next step may be a band, And finally, Chris learned how to crochet, which seems totally out of character. But when he made little Dylan an owl hat, it was so good, my wife Robin demanded one for Christmas, so Chris made one for her too. And Chris even has a wide range in the books he reads. He's read so many heavy metal books, he's an expert on that subject, of course. But he's also told us about books on the Big Bang's history, and even gave me a book on Zen Buddhism parables. So he's got a very wide range there. Of course, if we run out of anything else to talk about, Chris and I can always discuss how the Redskins or Capitals have let us down, so that's never going to go away. Now, Rebecca is unlucky because as her dad, I'll always see her as a little girl running down to gymnastics, or along with her sister Meredith, putting on a play or a skit for her grandparents. And Becca has a passionate side. Whatever she takes up, she loves, whether it's lacrosse, a new TV show. She told us all about home movies and Phineas and Ferb, which we still watch, or being a good babysitter for Dylan. In fact, when she babysits Dylan, she usually calls Robin up and tells you won't believe what Dylan's doing now, then puts Dylan on the phone, and they let us know what fun they're having. Excuse me, the wind has destroyed my... The one thing I have to warn Chris about, though, with Becca is if you're trying to teach her something new, or if you want to give her advice. When she was in elementary school, we'd be helping her with homework, and if she didn't get something, she'd finally throw the papers up in the air and storm off to her room and announce she's never going to make it past third grade. And one of my happiest moments when Rebecca took up basketball, since I love basketball over everything else. And I tried to not be one of the crazy parents who got thrown out by the referee. But one time I couldn't help myself, and I told her, give her some tips on how to get open so she could score. Rebecca didn't say anything, but then the next year she switched from basketball to lacrosse. And she told me later, well, I didn't know anything about lacrosse, so she didn't have to worry about that. Well, getting back to marriage a minute, A lot of our ideas of marriage come from TV shows we watch, which is scary considering all the reality shows that are on now. But unfortunately, Hollywood and TV get almost everything wrong, and especially marriage. On TV, you would think that every woman, every wife is beautiful, smart, and funny, but their poor husbands are 50 pounds overweight, clueless about everything, and the final insult is half of them are bald, which I really take offense to. In the movies, it's even worse. You've got realistic movies that tell you what is marriage really about. Well, every one of these movies is so angry and depressed, you want to run out of the theater. But they do get love right. Even guy movies like Rocky, we see Rocky going into the pet store every day so he can get up the nerve to ask Adrian out. In Love Actually, Colin Firth is a writer, and he learns to speak Portuguese so he can ask the housekeeper he's fallen in love with to marry him, only to find out that she's learned English. This brings us to the story of when Rebecca and Chris first realized when they were meant for each other. Rebecca was at a convention in Baltimore, and Dean and Meredith and Chris went up to keep her company. Now, usually when they would be hanging out, Rebecca and Meredith would be quoting lines from different TV movies or something crazy that happened with their friends, and Chris and Dean would be talking about what they had done or something, that the crazy thing their friends had done. But this time it was Rebecca and Chris who were doing all the talking. It finally got so late, Meredith and Dean went back to their room, but Chris and Becca kept on talking. Finally, a huge guy who looked like a lineman for the Baltimore Ravens came over and said, "Are you guys dating? Because you're the cutest couple I've ever seen." Chris just kind of stared at him and said, "Oh yeah." And after he left, Rebecca thought it was so strange. She thought Chris had told him to say it to impress her. Well, the next day, Robin and I came up to see Rebecca, but all she could do was talk about Chris. We even went to the most rundown restaurant in Baltimore, but that didn't dampen Rebecca's spirits. She still talked about Chris. This was the type of restaurants where the waitress called you hun, and there were people at 10 in the morning still drinking at the counter. But Becca was still happy. So I think this would be a good start for a movie. So I still couldn't find any good advice for Becca and Chris, but I did run into something on the internet, which was an interview with Susan Lucci, of all people, who was Erica in All My Children for about 30 years, and was married 10 times on the show. Well, they asked her what advice she could give, and she said, well, don't worry so much and remember the reason you fell in love in the first place. So that seemed pretty spot on. If I can find my place here. Oh, all right. And may I have the rings, please? That was easy enough. Yes, it was something fun. So, you all want to come over here so the mic can pick us up? Rebecca, please place this ring on Chris's finger and repeat after me. Chris, this ring is a token of my love.
Chris, this is a token of my love.
With all that I have and all that I am.
With all that I have, all that I am.
Chris, please place this ring on Rebecca's finger and repeat after me.
It's his hand.
Oh, make this.
Push it. Just push it. Just shove it.
Okay, Rebecca, this ring is a token of my love.
Rebecca, this ring is a token of my love.
With all that I have and all that I am.
With all that I have and all that I am.
Rebecca and Chris, you have made your marriage vows to one another, witnessed by your friends and family. You have declared your vows openly before us, and you have gifted each other with the exchange of rings. So now, by the power vested in me by the County of Fairfax, I pronounce you husband and wife. Chris, you may kiss your bride. It is my great honor and privilege to present Mr. and Mrs. Christopher Eugene Tonkinson.